My grandfather told me a very nice shloka from Mahabharata. He told Arjuna, the mighty warrior, always used to respect his teacher Dronacharya. And somebody asked him, "Oh Arjuna, you are such a famous man. You are a king. You have a lovely wife. You have so much wealth. Why do you always worship your teacher who doesn't have even any money compared to you?" He says, that is not true. Na rajyam, na dhanam, na kanakam. That means it says no kingdom, neither a beauty nor money. In life, nothing is permanent. What is permanent? He says, knowledge is permanent. Knowledge nobody can steal, nobody can burn, nobody can bury. Knowledge is something, the more you give, the more wealthy you become. So he says the teacher is the one, he is the greatest philanthropist. He or she may not have much money, who gives away their knowledge to others. And that's the reason we should always respect teachers. And teachers are the most important people in your life. Please remember that.
जब ये पूरा कंट्रोवर्सी चल रहा था नुपुर शर्मा का, हिंदूज वेर एट पेन्स टू से ये लिंग नहीं है, ये फॉर्म ऑफ एनर्जी है, ये वो है, ये है. लिंग को लिंग नहीं मान सकते आप लोग? Why are you so ashamed of your own culture? Why is it that you would choose to actually pray to the ling? Because it is a representation of Raudra, of masculinity, of potency. You want to say it's not? Okay, how many people have been to Pashupatinath in Nepal? Okay, it's a mature audience hopefully. If you've got under 18, it's not my fault. You knew what you were getting into, so please take responsibility. Okay? Now, in Pashupatinath Mandir, apart from the Moolagraha, so to speak, you go to the right, there is a specific Bhairav Roop there. People who want children are expected to do something there. Touch a particular organ and come out. You're worshipping the organ. It's surprising that Hindus are so easily ashamed of their own religion.
Even if it is not 3,600 crores, even if you are going to recover it in the future, when you have children who are dying of malnutrition, when you have schools which have only 25% public funding, wherein the rest of the 75% hasn't come, when you have this amount which is 7 times the amount which Maharashtra allocates
I'll tell you, this 3,600 crores is less than 3 months of alcohol consumption in Mumbai city. Why don't we abstain for 3 months and build the damn thing, whatever it is?
जगत के रंग क्या देखूं, तेरा दीदार काफी है.
So I'll list out a few key features of Tipu's rule. It was a regime of military and economic terror. It was characterized by unnecessary destructive raids throughout South India, most notably in Malabar and Coorg. And it was also notable for the sheer scale of rural destruction. Entire villages, towns, countryside, they were all completely burnt. In, for example, Kushalnagar, Talakaveri, Madikeri, Napoklu. So when you travel to Coorg from Mysore, you get all these major towns and villages completely burnt to the ground. And Calicut or Kozhikode was burnt to the ground, as I just told you. This Calicut was a hub of spice trade for several centuries, and Tipu's just one destructive raid changed its character forever, and spice trade there came to a permanent halt for nearly 40 to 50 years.
So if God doesn't necessarily exist, why do we need gurus? Why do we need Sadguru?
Do you drive in Delhi?
Do I drive? Unlike you, I have a fear of wheels.
So if you drive in an unknown terrain,
Yes,
you use these days a GPS.
yes.
Usually a strange woman will tell you, turn right. You turn right. She says, turn left. You say, turn left. She says, make a U-turn. You make a U-turn. Why? Simply because you're not familiar with the terrain. When you're in an unfamiliar terrain, it is sensible to take instructions.
Are you saying gurus are the new GPS?
Not new. Long time ago we've been, for a very long time, way before the GPS came. GPS means what? Guru Positioning System.
कश्मीर के कुछ नेता और इस देश में 99% मुसलमान जो कन्वर्टेड हैं, जिन्होंने तलवार के जोर पे शलवार पहन ली थी, जिन्होंने 2 रुपए किलो चावल के चक्कर में धर्म बदल लिया था। वो जरा साहबजादा जोरावर सिंह से पूछे कि 9 साल के बच्चे ने कहा कि मैं धर्म नहीं बदलूंगा किसी कीमत में, तुम मुझे चाहे ईंटों में चुनवा दो। दोनों सगे भाई चुन दिए गए।
This is a story that I haven't told publicly and very few people know, but early on in our history, when people wanted to buy Facebook and thought we should sell the company, I went and I saw one of my mentors, Steve Jobs, and he told me that in order to reconnect with what I believed as the mission of the company, I should visit this temple that he had gone to in India early on in his evolution of thinking about what he wanted Apple and his vision of the future to be. And so I went and I traveled for almost a month, and seeing the people, seeing how people connected, and having the opportunity to feel how much better the world could be if everyone had a stronger ability to connect, reinforced for me the importance of what we were doing, and that is something that I've always remembered over the last 10 years as we built Facebook.
Ramayana and Mahabharata are our lifelines and mirrors. Correct. What is the purpose of a mirror? You see into it and adjust and correct yourself. Yes. So whenever you are in a problem or whenever you are in a confusion, look into Ramayana, look into Mahabharata and just try to correct. You will be fitting into one or the other character. Always we should not assume we fit into Rama's character. Yeah. Sometimes we might fit into Rama's character. Sometimes we will fit into Ravana's character also. Yeah. Sometimes we will be Surpanaka also. Sometimes we will be the golden deer also. Sometimes we will be Manthara also. So whichever it is, what happened, how are you relating yourself, and how best you can mold yourself. So this mirror. So we thought, let us create character mirrors in Ramayana.
All the way back to the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita, which are some ancient Indian texts, and there they talk about Vimanas. And then these Vimanas were talked about and written about that actually had Mercury engines and were able to levitate and fly silently across the land and transport the kings and elites from place to place. So we actually looked into that and said, could this be possibly real? And the more we looked into it, the more we found that it could potentially be very, very real theoretically. So we started experimenting with different concepts of using mercury because that's what they used. And mercury is a ferrofluid. It's actually a liquid metal. So we discovered that by putting this liquid metal into a torus, which is a steel torus with a reverse magnetic field inside of it, to keep the actual fluid from the ferrofluid from touching the inside. And then you actually can bring it up to a rotation to an RPM of about 50,000. Once you do that, and then pressurize that torus to about 250,000 pressures, you then get this amazing anti-gravity bubble.
We are repeating the Western trope and stereotype when we say that prior to Westernization, colonization, the concept of equality or the concept of gender justice or the concept of individual dignity did not exist. No, that's not true. But please realize that Western values are not universal values. Every culture has its own unique experience. Okay? The point that we must perhaps try and understand is a culture which is fundamentally polytheistic in nature is much more open to free speech and expression than a monotheistic culture. Right? Because if religion had more value in the past, which is the case, and if there was more freedom in terms of religious thought, how can there be less freedom when it comes to non-religious thought? Second, apart from polytheism, if there also existed the concept of a feminine divine, where you see divinity in the feminine side as well. So apart from Shiva, you also see a Shakti. Clearly, there is respect for the non-male gender as an equal and as an equal in its own right.
You haven't produced one scientific discovery that's breaking the Quran, and I apologize. I thought
the
that
moon
was
did not split in two. The sun and the moon are not smaller than all the stars. The stars are not lamps to be thrown at devils. There is no firmament. The sun doesn't set in a muddy pond. Birds did not dive bomb elephants. I could spend a day if we want to talk about the stupid falsehoods that are in the Quran. We could make a day out of that. And I've already listed some of them. Everybody's waiting for me to bring up this one. Semen does not come from between the backbone and the ribs. The development that is described in how the fetus develops, the Quran got that wrong too because it copied bad science from that day. And there's nothing you can do about that because it's just people writing the damn thing. That's why they wrote their own errors into it. And now you have a list of a number of things that you can't...
और भारत के अंदर इस्लाम कुछ और है, सऊदी अरब में कुछ और है. आपको मालूम है कि इस्लाम में कब्रों का कंसेप्ट नहीं है। कब्र के बारे में मना किया गया है कि कब्र नहीं बनेगी, जो जनाब चले गए हैं उनको ज़मीन में दफनाइए, मट्टी डाल दीजिए और खुदाफिज कर दीजिए। लेकिन ये बड़ी बड़ी संगमरमर की कब्रें क्यों बनेंगी, ये बड़े बड़े कब्रिस्तान क्यों बनेंगे? और समाजवादी पार्टी से कुछ लोगों ने डिमांड कर दिया कि भाई हमारा कब्रिस्तान की बाउंड्री बननी है। मैंने ये बात आजमगढ़ में कही कि भाई ये बाउंड्री बननी है, 450 करोड़ रुपया चाहिए, तो मुलायम सिंह ने उसको दे भी दिया। तो मैं उसके बाद जब गया आजमगढ़ तो मैंने कहा मुझे ये समझ नहीं आया भाई कि जो कब्रिस्तान में लेटा है वो सड़क पे आ नहीं सकता, सड़क वाला उधर जाना नहीं चाहता, तो 4.5 करोड़ की ये बाउंड्री किसके लिए बना रहे हो भाई?